When you talk about your successes all the time, it creates competition. When you talk about what you're trying to do, your vulnerabilities, your failures, where you want to go, I think it creates attraction and compassion.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you're enjoying the show, do me one quick favor and leave us that rating and review. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you like about the show, what's working, what's helping you on your investing journey, but also give us that feedback on what could be what could be a little bit better to help you reach your financial goals. Listen, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Reedstrom. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. Kyle is a family man with a business, not the other way around. After pivoting from a career in engineering to full-time real estate, he began using cash flow assets to create a new lifestyle. Now, these additional income streams allowed him and his young family to live by design and increase the options by which they choose to spend their time. Now, he's based in Fargo, North Dakota, and Kyle is the founder of Passive 25K Group, a company with a mission to build wealth through passive income for themselves and for others. Let's welcome to the show, Kyle Reedstrom.
John, great to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Hey, Kyle, I went over your bio at a very high level. Why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Yeah, man, I hope the audience is hearing some corollaries. I was one of those guys, I was an engineer and I wasn't loving my W-2 and I was frustrated, man. And so I needed to find a path. Real estate started that path for me, and then started building a team around the vision of, hey, let's cross a finish line. What's a good finish line in the business world? A monetary one. And let's go from active business to passive. What better journey to go on than to buy all your time back? I think a lot of people that are listening probably are that's why they're listening. And so we just wanted to do it ourselves and then start talking about it with others. So that's kind of where we're at today.
I love it, man. You talked about your journey transitioning from being an engineer, not really feeling that, getting into real estate, and then really creating this platform to help other people find passive income and grow. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But let's talk about kind of the initial steps. You mentioned real estate being kind of the first stepping stool, if you will, to kind of help you with that transition. What were you doing when you started investing in real estate or starting to leverage real estate to make that transition?
Yeah, man, real estate, I always say the jump from 0 to 1 is a very scary one. I play real estate agent, real estate broker for a lot of my day job. Now we run a small brokerage that's hopefully going to be part of our passive income portfolio someday as we leverage that. But that was I help a lot of people that are going from zero, their first unit. And I remember when I did, it was in college for me, actually. I was like paying these checks to a landlord. I'm like, hey, this guy's got a pretty solid gig going on. I'm like taking care of the house. I might be even improving it sometimes, and I'm paying him rent. And so I actually bought the house that we lived in, and then I rented it out to my college buddies. And that was the first time I really said, I think I get why this is a thing people do. And then I started reading the books, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad came into my world. Mind expanded. I realized this employee mentality was not for me. And then it was down to scale, and I had to figure out how to do that. John, I'll tell a little story about this, and it's kind of off the wall. This is not advice, but I also had a lot of ambition to go and make something happen. So I had about $20,000 saved, and I went into the bank, Wells Fargo at the time, and I said, hey, I'm an engineer. I've been working for a year. Look at me. You guys, you like guys like me, right, Mr. Banker? And they were able to give me a line of credit for $30,000 unsecured. I just said it was for a rainy day fund. I actually did that again at a different bank for $20,000. So all of a sudden I had my 20 plus 50. And then I got one partner for 100 total, and we bought my first two fourplexes. And I was highly leveraged. Everybody that sees that as a 24-year-old, they were like, "Dude, what are you doing? You're an idiot. This could end up horribly." But I decided when I bought those to live in them, put on my investor hat. I raised rents every 6 months for like a 24-month cycle, fixed up a places, got out a bunch of bad tenants, put in new tenants, redid some units myself. And I was able to kind of hustle my way into making that investment make a lot of sense after like 3 years. But until I had that proven, John, I was like, am I an idiot? Is this dumb? But I was learning the whole way, man.
Did you have a mortgage on those properties as well?
Yeah. I mean, the 100,000 was just for the down payment that we raised. Yeah. So
Got
it was
it.
a 500. It was a $500,000 project, and all my 24-year-old buddies were like, "Bro, what are you thinking?" I still own those today, man, and they are still like, it doesn't look stupid now. That's the beauty of don't wait to buy and wait type of thing for real estate. I don't have to preach that on this show, I'm sure.
Well, I think there are a couple good lessons in that story, though, right? So, one, when you're young, you get to take risk, and there's the bliss of being kind of young and ignorant, and maybe taking all that leverage and doing a deal that maybe in hindsight you look at and say, "Ooh, I wouldn't do that again." But you don't know, and that's one of the good things about being able to do that. The bigger point, though, and I think the bigger takeaway is, if there's a will, there's a way, meaning that you realize that yes, there's a lot of leverage here, but we're going to increase rents. I'm assuming you've done some research, kind of knowing that you could increase rents every 6 months, or at least that, these units were below market value. And that's how you drove that upside. And I think the last point I would take away is that if you have a long-term view and a long-term hold play, you will tend to do better and fare better versus if you're trying to time the market. If you're trying to get in and do a flip in 6 months, that could be risky, and that could present some challenges that, no matter how great you are as an operator, the market just may not be in your favor at that specific time. But if you're going to go in and hold something for 5, 7, 10 years or more, then typically the time value of money and the time that you're going to hold this asset is going to give you some great profit. So lots of great insights there if you're willing to be patient while also being a little bit aggressive in trying to make something happen there. So that's kind of your first deal, right? You talk about right out of school, 24 years old, highly leveraged, but and by the way, I don't know how you're able to go get these line of credits from the bank, just walking in and saying, "Hey, can I get 30K? Can I get 20K?" So that prior to the financial collapse back in 2008?
Yeah, man, we're talking,
Yeah.
this was 2013, 2014. I will
Oh,
say this
wow.
though, you know, or no, it wasn't prior to that. Yes, it was after that. But I will say this, some of these lenders, and it's always changing, right? But you never know unless you ask. And I was personally guaranteeing those, of course, but they were unsecured from any hard collateral. But I mean, I asked for 100, and they only gave me 30, right? And that was interesting to see where banks fall on that, and they make money off of some of that stuff. So I've had now, just so people know, I've had within the last 3 years, now it's changed this year a little bit, where a bank will give me a $250,000 unsecured line, right? And it's a smaller credit union. It's just different mentality. But you have to get to a point where they like your balance sheet, or even a couple of what you have with companies and partners and stuff. But you have to kind of ask, and access to capital is just that. I mean, that can really give you a lot of runway. Now, I would say this: I had such a disciplined mentality on killing those lines, man. I was like, everything I had was going towards paying off those lines because I didn't want to be paying that interest,
Right.
which I feel like that can get people caught. So.
Yep. No, it makes a lot of sense. But I think that's really important too to understand is like, when you have that level of leverage, you want to then double down and try to reduce that as quickly as possible, particularly if your interest rates are really high. And that's whether you're investing or just, trying to get out of debt. You want to take a look at your highest interest rate expenses and see what you can do quickly to try to mitigate that. So really good insights there. Talk to me about kind of how that initial step led to what ultimately became the Passive 25K Club.
Yeah, so I realized very quickly in this real estate investing thing that it's fun. It's addicting. It's kind of a game. I actually got into real estate out of engineering. I got my license, so I was in the sales side of things too. I was seeing it from all the angles, from behind the scenes, everything. And I quickly realized when I asked people what their goals were in real estate, a lot of people said the word more in a roundabout way. And a lot of people didn't have one thing, which was enough. And I always had been a big thinker, but I really was like, man, what are we all doing it for? Um, and I had met some people that had just kept doing it for 30 years. And man, I tell you, the net worths, the numbers, the zeros was really impressive, but at what cost? So I needed to understand my why. And my why was always to just have more options with my time. Why do I want my time? Because I want to spend time with my wife, my growing family, my hobbies, my friends. I've met people that are financially free and independent, and they have amazing depth of relationship. They're healthy. Their bodies are healthy. They have a great presence in their community. They're constantly giving. I was like, okay, that's what I actually want. And how do you get there? You have to put the line in the sand at least once, to start. So I finally said, everything we do in business, and we at this time had a brokerage business. We just started a property management company. We had our properties rolling. So we're like starting to play the entrepreneurial network game, and you can just keep doing that until you have 20 businesses and get burnt out and lose your marriage. I'm like, dude, I'm not playing that game. And so I said 25,000 a month. How does that sound, honey? And we said 25,000 a month. That is far more than our monthly budget it takes to live our lifestyle. It lets us travel where we want, give what we want, invest and continue to save on a lifestyle that we think is enjoyable. And then the cool part was when we created that vision, that was in 2018. We said, what do we do when we hit it? Well, then we just get on a journey where we help other people do the same. And we just are a part of a chapter in their book of doing their version of their number. And that to me sounded like it's duplicatable. That to me sounded exciting. That to me sounded like work I could do my whole life. And so I was like, okay, this is our number. And so we kind of were doing it, John. And then in 2022, we finally decided to tell other people what we've been up to with some of the companies, some of the things we've been trying. That's when we came out with the podcast. That's when we created the website and a platform and a community where people could come and we could actually do this together. And now we have people in that community that aren't just invested in real estate, man. I got a guy that just purchased 3 vending machines, and they're creating passive income for him. A lot of people with buying businesses online companies. A lot of people in the Turo space right now, which is a little more active, but there's people that are building fleets with that. So everybody's finding their version. And John, the last thing I'll say with this is we realized 25 was a big number per month. So we knew that 25,000 a month doesn't happen unless there's 10,000 a month. And we always broke it down to 5 streams of 5,000 a month. So what are our 5 streams? And before you have those 5, you got to have 3 with 2,000 a month, And so we just have continually identified what streams are going to be part of our little recipe. And the cool thing is streams have shown up. I think when you put stuff out there, we've had some streams show up that we didn't expect, and it's slowly penciling itself out. And once we have one that creates 500 a month very consistently, passively, we know that if we can scale, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good insights. And the one thing that stands out from what you said is, well, really a few things. Well, one that jumped out to me was having a goal bigger than yourself. You talked about that 25K a month being kind of your goal, but then what do you do once you hit that? And you mentioned at that point, you want to share that with other people so that they can kind of reach, or you can inform them on their own journey. And I think that's really important because, there's a book, a few different books. One in particular I'm thinking about is 10X is easier than 2X. And one of the points they're trying to make is that you have to have a big vision, because you have to make a strategic shift in what you're doing if you're going to accomplish a big goal. And that goal has to be bigger than what you're doing right now. Because I'm sure you could probably look at your expenses and just say, hey, here's what our expenses are. We just need to get $1 above that and we're good, right? And for some people, particularly those folks in the FIRE movement, right, the financial independence movement, some of them think about it that way. And it's just a matter of, I just need to make more money than I'm spending. And I think there's a missed opportunity when you don't have a bigger goal that impacts other people. And for you, when you're trying to create this 25K group, that allows you to have a mission bigger than just what you're doing. And that gives you probably more motivation and keeps you focused on your goals and all those different things. I think it's really important for people to understand is that, yes, it's great to achieve your own goals, but if your goals can be tied to other people and helping them achieve what they're looking for, you're going to be more motivated to actually stay focused on that and trying to achieve that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, dude, John, I love that you went this way, and I think people listening really got to tune in here because there's the quote. I love this quote because there's the paradigm out there that says money can't buy happiness, and the quote was somebody commented that anybody that says that has never written a check to someone and given someone $100,000 cash before, and that's just a statement to go towards giving and giving back or blowing wind in someone else's wings. And that's the coolest thing we have as entrepreneurs, real estate investors, business people, is to have our cup overflow and see what happens. And it is the most fun thing. I get really excited about what we're doing with Past the 25K group. But when I have people, running mates alongside us in our community that are making wins and go from a dude that worked at a hospital to now in 2023 he has 4 streams of different income. And he's like, where is my life? I'm like, dude, that's you. And it's like, he's going for his goals. I'm going for mine. I'm like, iron sharpens iron, man. It's a super cool thing. And I think the prompt there too for people is, how do you get that bigger goal? And then who are you doing it alongside? Like that's a huge piece of this, you guys. And that's why we decided to get loud about it. We realized we were kind of keeping secret and seeing what we could do. And that's because we were scared of failing, which we were doing at a high level, still are. But now, man, we're all sharing in our failures and our wins. It's a cool thing.
And I think the thing that's really relevant for our multifamily listeners is like, you may want to kind of build by yourself, right? You talked about kind of keeping it quiet for the first 4 years and just kind of building it and just kind of you and your wife having that game plan. And then finally you started to share that with other people. And the reason I think it's so important to have a bigger goal or a bigger vision is think about the impact you can have for these other individuals. And when it comes to multifamily investing, it's one thing for you to achieve your own goals, but how great would it be for you to be able to help the people closest to you to achieve their goals, to get a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of financial freedom, some options in their own life? And you may be that person who can help them grow and scale. So to me, it becomes a responsibility for you to share what you know, what you're learning with the people around you so that they can maybe get that. And, it's funny. I was talking to somebody who was like, yeah, I don't really want to raise money from friends and family because, what happens if it fails? And I'm like, well, listen, I can't tell you do this or don't do that. What I will say is if you were best friends with Elon Musk and he came to you and said, hey, I've got this idea for this company that I want to build, and you knew him, you liked him, you trusted him, you knew he's a great engineer, you knew he had a brilliant mind, and he came to you with this opportunity, would you be upset that he came to you or that maybe one of the first ones failed? Or would you be more upset if he never approached you and this is your best friend and he goes out and builds this huge company and he never even gave you a chance to partner with him on it? So it's one of those things where, again, not saying everyone's the next Elon, but I do think it's important that if you've got something that you believe in, then you should be willing to share that with people closest to you, especially if you know that it can help them and impact their own financial future. So just thinking bigger, I think, is a really key point of, why you want to be a part of a community like this. And I think that's the cool thing with your 25K group is it's not just about you telling people, here's how to do what I've done, but it is about community. Just talk to me more about the importance of community and having those other members who are kind of taking this lesson and growing with it, as opposed to it just being an individual approach.
Yeah, when we first decided to say, hey, our number's 25, we started the company around 25. It was crazy how many people had a number that they never had shared before. They're like, well, oh, mine's 20 or mine's actually 25. And that's what we've been thinking, and nobody's talking about it. And I can't tell you how much simplicity creates clarity. And that clarity has literally launched us way farther down the path of this goal once we put just a simple number and word to it. And it's crazy because when we hire team members, they literally come in and I'm like, pass the 20 P25 kgs on the board. And I go, do you know why you're here? All of us are here just to try to hit that goal. And the goal is everybody's here. I'm bringing on a team member because I'm hoping that you can help me get there faster. My wife and I get there faster. When I say we, I say that's why I'm thinking about bringing on another team member to be a valuable asset to us getting there faster. And the cool part is once we cross that, we're going to celebrate, and then I want to completely change the focus onto you. You know, how do you get here? And I always say anybody that joins our team or anybody that joins our community will stay in our community if they can better achieve their goals within our community than without us. And it's been cool because it creates a sticky environment. I don't know if that's tip to anybody that's growing any teams around any business or partnering with someone. But if there's such a clear vision, you can't shake it, which we literally named it after. That's why it's so literally named. It's like, why do I come into this office every day? No one has to question it. It's literally on the front of the building. Trying to get to 25K. We have multiple businesses trying to do that. We're constantly changing things in and out, adding people, letting people go. And if you're curious about the same thing, let's roll. And the neat part has been one revenue stream in particular has shown up because we've been loud about that, and we never would have expected it. And I think that that's the power. If you're willing to talk about your goals out loud, you put you're vulnerable to the point of like, hey, now everybody knows, especially like you said with friends and family, John. But that also creates attraction, you guys, because when you talk about your successes all the time, it creates competition. When you talk about what you're trying to do, your vulnerabilities, your failures, where you want to go, I think it creates attraction and compassion.
That's a great point. You mentioned the one income stream that has, you came across because you were being vocal. You also talked about a couple other ones. Your thesis is 5 income streams at 5K gets you to that 25K month figure. How would one go about figuring out what those income streams should be for them based on their personality, based on their time, based on these different factors?
Yeah, so I will say this to start. Real estate, I've just stopped dancing around this. Real estate is one of them. Real estate has to be part of the equation. It's just the time-tested, proven way to build wealth and possibly cash flow passive income. And so I literally, anybody that comes into our community, I'm just asking, is there a reason you're not investing in real estate yet? Or how are you looking for real estate to be a part of that? We've even kind of got two sectors showing up in our portfolio right now because we're really, in the last 2 years, diving heavily into the midterm and short-term rental space, which is kind of the hospitality game. But that's a whole business on its own that we've kind of realized this acts differently than our long-term portfolio. And so real estate's even making up a couple different parts of what we're seeing is going to maybe get us to the finish line. But then, number one, I had the same question, John. How are we going to find these streams? And I think if you're going to have 5, you probably better have 7, 8 of them penciled out to see which horse wins, right? So we created a podcast around that to literally talk to everybody out there that's creating revenue streams in different ways, and that's what our podcast is all about. And so the cool thing there is you get into a place of self-discovery and you start to learn things that you never knew before. Namely, I just talked to a gal from New Zealand living a completely financially free lifestyle. She was just getting done skiing in the New Zealand Alps, and she's just spending time homeschooling her kids, and she just has this really cool life. And I was asking, how'd you get there? And she's like, well, I had my number, I had my financial freedom number. And she buys businesses online that are run passively, like blogs and websites and things. And I was just like, I think I've heard of it. Someone has to own those. And we just dug into that. And it's like, man, anybody that listening that is looking for another version, another stream, why not this one? She has a course. She kind of told about like the steps that took her to get into it. She owns 30 online businesses. Some give her $750 a month very consistently. Some give her $25,000 a month very, very consistently, all of which are run not by her. You don't know these things exist until you hear about them. And then all of a sudden the glass breaks. Just like you don't know that somebody can own a multifamily and talk to them and how it works in their life. And then all of a sudden it's like, I can do some of these things too. So dude, it's a crazy cool discovery place, but you really have to find find your group, and then also, start having the conversation, start paying attention to how other people are doing it.
Yeah, I think the takeaway there is that one, real estate's a key component, right? If you're gonna have 5 income streams, real estate should be one, but then find other things that fit your lifestyle. If you really want to be passive, look for passive revenue or income streams. You mentioned the online blogs. There's certainly plenty of other avenues there that you can look at, but try to figure out which ones are really suited for your personality, the ones that you can run passively, and ones that you kind of understand and can make money off of. Your website and your podcast has a lot of great information on this topic a little further. So we ask everybody to check out p25kg.com. That stands for Passive 25K group. So passive25kgroup.com. But again, the website is p25kg. And then your podcast, Passive 25K podcast. That is anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you check that out. Cal, right now we're going to go to our round of insights. Are you ready?
Yeah, you bet.
Give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
Okay, so I love business, and I thought I could out earn my spending. That is a false paradigm that you can change right now by listening to this podcast. If you're going to be great at business, the greatest people in business, the publicly traded companies that scale, are absolute Navy SEALs with their money, and they know where their money's going, and they also know how to earn more. But I kept thinking I could out earn my spending, and I've had to change that in two different seasons of life. And man, there's amazing freedom that comes with lowering the water and raising the bridge.
All right. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Okay, a couple come to mind. I love these quick hitters. Boomerang for Gmail. I use that really I use that every day just to send reminders back to me or time emails to myself. I use Evernote as a note-taking app. It's really crucial. And recently, everything I've been doing, I really want to get tactical and have chalk marks for what I'm trying to accomplish each day, which I've been using an app called Habit Share. That's been really powerful. It's simple, but very powerful.
Give me the book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
That book is Profit First. The cool part about Profit First is there's actually a Profit First for real estate agents, Profit First for real estate investors, Profit First for contractors. Profit First is a simple system for how money flows in your business or even in your personal life. I actually had Mike Michalowicz, the author, on my podcast a couple months ago, so that one's really the relevant one in my life.
Love it. All right, give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Mine is actually, I'm on day 110 of reading the Bible. And I know that this isn't, I don't mean to go spiritual. I'm a spiritual guy. I really feel like that energy has been a huge breath into my business, my life. And just understanding the habit behind doing something like that, a book that you have to read every day for an entire year. It's poured in different thought patterns, different insights, different other habits that stemmed off of that. I think habits do that for you. They kind of start to cascade, and you start to stack habits together, and that's kind of what I've seen just from reading my 2 or 3 chapters of the Bible each day.
Give me your number one insight for creating multiple streams of income.
Number one insight, it's going to sound fundamental, but I can't get past it. Everybody that we work with, everybody that comes into our world, I had to do this. You have to have your GPS set on the exact door you want to knock on. And that, what I mean by that is it's got to be laser focused where you're going. And so creating a vision is number one. There's an awesome book called Vivid Vision. If you don't have that, it's amazing, quick read. But we had to set, we weren't just heading south anymore. We were heading to the top floor of 123 Main Street, Austin, Texas. And everything got clear. All of our decision making was more clear. And so I know that that's not an income stream, but we had to know exactly where we wanted to go financially before the income streams that were going to get us there started showing up.
All right. And you are in Fargo, North Dakota. Give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Okay, so this is actually a chain restaurant. It's called Crisp and Green. I eat at like 2 places because I'm really macro conscious. Crisp and Green is an amazing salad shop. If you're ever in Fargo, they're also in Minnesota quite a bit, and I think they're spreading. It's a franchise. Maybe you can invest in a Crisp and Green as an income stream. But this is a really, really great salad shop. You got to check it out. It's always busy. You'll have to get there at 11:45 if you're going for lunch.
There you go. Hey, Cal, great information, man. I appreciate you sharing more about kind of the different income streams, why you want five income streams at 5,000 a month to help you achieve kind of your financial freedom goals, but also setting goals that are bigger than you, that impact other people, that kind of create and foster community and kind of create opportunities that maybe you wouldn't be aware of if you weren't vocal in sharing what you're actually trying to accomplish. I think it's really important to understand just the way you can put these things together and the fact that it's not just about how much money you're making, but how much flexibility and how many options you actually have to spend your time doing the things you want to do with the people you want to be with. Cal, again, for folks who want to learn more about your club, they can go to p25kg.com, and that is short for Passive 25K Group. Again, and check out the podcast, the Passive 25K podcast. We'll make sure we link to that in our show notes. Cal, thanks again for being a great guest. We look forward to staying in touch, and we hope you have a great day.
Yeah, John, it was a pleasure being here, man. I love what you're doing. And yeah, thanks for having me on.